aren't alone. Okay, so this
disturbing
alien-looking
case.
creature was recently captured on video, and
Shapeshifter? We gotta see this. What the hell is that? Oh man. Is this an edit? Or is this legit? What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, man. Anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank you guys who's been tapping in with us, subscribing to the channel, hitting that post notification bell, man, hitting that like button. Greatly appreciate the support you guys have. Say you've been liking the changes to the channel. Fix the audio for you guys, so a couple more stuff is coming, so guys on the way soon. Upgrades will be coming to the channel. Let's check this out. Let's seek the truth.
Infected with HIV after getting this cosmetic procedure called vampire facial in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And if you don't know what a vampire facial is, it's a procedure where they take a sample of your blood from your body, then separate the plasma and the red blood cells, and then they inject the plasma back into your face with microneedling. And there's a number of reasons why people get this done, a major one being to brighten the skin, improve fine lines, wrinkles, acne, and overall rejuvenate the skin. But after these women were diagnosed, an investigation was conducted, and it turns out that this spa was unlicensed. They also found unlabeled tubes of blood lying on the kitchen counter and syringes stored in the fridge along with food. It's also been said that this spa was reusing disposable equipment, which is most likely how these people were infected. This clinic had hundreds of clients, and it's possible that more people were infected, but they just don't know it yet. The clinic was closed down, and the owner was sentenced to 2 years in prison.
The terrifying.
Just 2 years? After all those people got infected, man? Like I said, people, I don't know, sometimes, man, they just can't get it through their head, man, that we all gonna age, we all gonna look old or something. You know, some people, they want to make changes, and that's all the power to them, but you gotta be careful the places you go, because you never know what type of situation you're gonna end up with. That's crazy.
Human being you see in this photo killed his entire family twice.
Come again?
This man is Gregory Green, and in 1991 he stabbed his wife in the face and chest, killing her and their unborn child. He then called 911 and waited for the police to come. After serving 16 years in prison, he was released in 2008 with the support of family and friends, including a pastor who lobbied on his behalf. He then married Faith Harris, the pastor's daughter, and became a stepfather to her 2 teenage children, and the couple would go on to have 2 daughters of their own. However, on September 21st, 2016, Faith found herself bound with duct tape and zip ties in the basement of their Michigan home. Her foot had been shot, her face slashed with a box cutter, and her 4 children were dead.
What?
The killer was her husband, and just as Gregory did when he killed his first wife, he called 911 and waited for police to come. He is now serving life in prison. Let's hope he actually stays put this time.
Has to.
This is a case that I came across late last year, and I haven't been able to get it off my mind. Lauren was killed by her boyfriend, or her ex-boyfriend, I should say. Word got around town that she was missing, and people were starting to freak out. So the search for Lauren started right away, and very quickly into their search, they actually made a huge discovery. That night, Lauren's red Jeep was found in the Wayland Town Beach parking lot with its windows rolled down. Her purse and computer were still inside, but there was no sign of Lauren. They actually specifically asked if her ex-boyfriend could be involved once hearing about the fact that she had recently broken up with him, and her friends even were like, no, there's no way he would have done anything to her. Nathan wasn't violent, at least not to their knowledge. But of course the police know that anything is possible. Even the people that you would never expect could do something absolutely can. So they of course got in contact with Nathan right away. That night they drove to Nathan's house where they spoke with him and his mom Beth. However, it's sounded, at least initially, like he had an alibi. He did admit to seeing Lauren that night. He said that she was in her car and pulled up. They had a 5-minute, very awkward conversation, according to him, but that was it. She drove off and he hadn't seen her since. But his alibi and that story were about as strong as a twig, because 48 hours later, he was being arrested for murder.
You never know, man. Like she said, it's the people who are closest to you, the people you would never think can do the unthinkable, man. If you let your guard down, that's what could happen. Like I said, the police friends said, oh, he wouldn't do that. He's not that type of person. I'm sorry, you never know. Friends, family, everybody's on that list. Be aware. Edit. Call it out like I said.
Marcus married his 15-year-old stepdaughter. My heart goes out to her. She was way too young to be dealing with anything like this. And even though their finances don't sound like they were especially stable, they kept having children. I mean, think pregnancy after pregnancy, because by the time she was 26 years old, Elizabeth had given birth, and this is not an exaggeration, 11 times. Now, given that the first pregnancy was when she was 15, that works out to a baby every single year. I can't even imagine. It's literally like you're pregnant for 10 years straight. That would be horrific. I didn't mind being pregnant, but that would be horrific. I mean, it honestly would be hard on anyone, but she was also so young that it would make it that much more difficult. Marcus basically stole her childhood away from her in so many different ways.
The infamous case of the woman that...
He didn't go to jail or nothing like that. We're going to have to follow up on these cases, man. We got to see how they close, because she was that freaking young, having that many kids. Like 11 years straight and pregnant. She didn't even get to live her life.
that cut off her husband's manhood. When Lorena married John Bobbitt, she thought that it was going to be happily ever after. But in reality, John started hurting Lorena the second they tied the knot. Physically, emotionally, and then he started essaying her. This guy was a huge a-hole. Unemployed while his wife worked 2 jobs, forced Lorena to end a pregnancy that she wanted to keep. Cheating on her. On top of all of that, he would go out, get super drunk every night, then come home and essay Lorena. Then one night in June of 1993, after John essayed his wife and passed out drunk, his wife Lorena went to the kitchen to get herself a glass of water, where a large cutting instrument was in plain view, which Lorena took back into her bedroom and cut off John's member. She then got in her car and left and threw it out the car window, but somehow they were able to find it in time and reattach it after a 9-hour surgery. There was actually 2 trials in this story, one for what Lorena did to John and one for what John did to Lorena, and they were actually both found not guilty. They obviously divorced and went on to live very different lives. Today, Lorena is a wife and mother, and also the founder of her own foundation against domestic violence. After the incident, John went on to star in some adult movies. Today, he's unemployed and has been married and divorced 3 times. And just last week, he publicly announced that after drinking contaminated water, he had to have all 10 of his toes recently amputated, which doctors were unable to reattach.
The recent
Different
discovery
paths
of
of
the
life.
body of a young female in the dunes of Saldanha Bay led many to believe that this was in fact Jocelyn Smith. This has since been confirmed to not be true. However, it has led to so many questions being asked about a town that has had much publicity over the last few months. On a side note, for those who have been asking for an update in the Jocelyn Smith case, I'll be posting that in the very next True Crime News update video. On Friday morning, the 26th of April, the body of 20-year-old Otomsne Janssen was discovered by a group of men who were going fishing. Her body was discovered on the beach near a holiday resort around 9 a.m. Items of clothing were later found on nearby dunes by the Saldanha Bay police and are believed to belong to the young girl. She, however, was found lying without any clothing on her back in the sand. She was from Middle Course, attended school at Dyersville High School, and had last been seen at the community soup kitchen the night before. According to police, the investigation is in its infancy, and any information into the case can be directed to the investigating officer, Heinz Schmidlin. As always, if there are any public updates in the case, I'll be sure to keep you posted.
Gotta get those updates, man. Tragic case. And it seems like there's more to the story, too. I just happened to on that specific island where it was at. They put up the map.
Have you ever heard the crazy story on how the show To Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen got canceled? If you have never seen that show before, it was so ahead of its time. So basically, Chris Hansen and his team would go online and pretend to be children or teenagers and chat with online
Why would
predators.
they cancel it?
And then invite the creeps over, saying like, my parents aren't home. Then the creeps would go over to what they thought was a child's home, but be greeted with Chris Hansen and get arrested. Typically, the men that they would catch on the show would be lowlifes with no real influence in society at all. Until Texas District Attorney Bill Conrad started chatting with one of the show's online decoys, sending inappropriate photos to what he thought was an underage boy. On every single episode of the show, they had to convince these online creeps to actually meet up in person. But Bill didn't want to meet in person. This is complete speculation, but I'm assuming that the network knew that catching a district attorney on their show would be really good for ratings. And since Bill did not want to meet, they took camera crew, police officers, SWAT teams, and raided Bill's home. This is unlike anything the show had done before. And with cameras rolling, before they were even able to speak with him, Bill Conrad unalived himself. People that were at the scene apparently immediately started talking about how this was going to make really good TV. And Dateline did go on to air an episode that featured Bill. But there was some controversy, of course. The judge that signed the search and arrest warrant apparently said that they were never made aware that a reality TV show was involved in this arrest at all, and said if they had known, they would never have signed it. Experts have also said that the raid was unnecessary drama for the cameras and put everyone involved in unnecessary danger. And that the investigation was just rushed in general because this was reality TV and they wanted a quick turnaround for the episode. Bill's sister did go on to file a wrongful death lawsuit against NBC, which was settled for an undisclosed amount. And within months of this all happening, the very popular TV show was canceled. There's so much controversy about how this all went down, but what do you think? And if you were a fan of this show, did you ever hear about this before?
Just before dawn.
I've heard about the Chris Hansen show, but to see that's why it's canceled, because they called somebody high profile, but it ended very, I guess, wrongly. They like try to record it, and that's what's the result of what happened, man. Somebody had that much power. They called him, and they just said, cancel the show. It's over. It's done with. Imagine if that would have never happened. Maybe it could have like still been aired to this day. Like she said, it was ahead of its time. What do you guys think, Seekers?
A cyclist was out taking a morning ride, and they came across a gruesome discovery. Just 5 miles away from her home, Lauren Astley's body was discovered in a marsh. And when she was recovered from the water, it was immediately clear what her cause of death was. And what's crazy is nobody, not a single person, could have predicted what would happen to her. Lauren was found with a bungee cord around her neck and a gaping wound to her throat. 18-year-old Lauren Dunn Astley had been strangled to death and stabbed multiple times by someone who the police had already spoken to, and I know you all know who it was. That day, investigators learned a lot more about Nathan Fujita and just what a massive toll the breakup had taken on him. He had not been the same since. And his mom, of course, had really picked up on this, knew something had to be really wrong. She had actually taken him to the psychiatrist. And what's crazy is his mom actually secretly visited Lauren at work and asked her if she could go and talk to her son. You know, maybe try and cheer him up, just try to have more of a civil conversation from like a friendly perspective. Maybe she didn't know all the details of their relationship and how, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think it was Lauren's responsibility to ever do that. And I'm sure his mother feels terrible about asking her to do that because she probably, for sure, never could have imagined how that meeting would end. And truth be told, Lauren was actually worried about him herself. I mean, I think she'd also really seen this change in him.
Trying to be a good person.
Of course, there was a part of her that still cared about him, and she wanted to help him. She definitely wasn't worried enough to get back together with him, but she was willing to go and talk to him. It just shows what a kind person Lauren was. But sadly, though, this act of kindness would actually get her killed.
Breaking news, the remains of 6 women were just found in a man's apartment. I'm starting to see why you guys are choosing the bear. The suspect was first caught when he allegedly broke into his neighbor's apartment on April 16th and essayed and strangled her 17-year-old daughter. That's when the teenager's mother returned to the apartment and saw him leaving, and he slashed her throat and fled. The poor mother survived the attack and her daughter did not. And after investigating rooms that the man previously rented, they found bones, blood, a saw, cell phones, and the ID cards of missing women.
Damn.
They also found the remains of 6 women and other biological material, and one news outlet reported that the remains that were found were literal skulls. They said that the search clearly indicates that they're looking at a possible serial killer of women. They also said they found notebooks that may well be the narrations of the acts that Miguel carried out against his victims. He was writing literal stories about the things he was doing, and at this time he was already being held over the murders of 2 women. Rest in peace to his poor victims, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated.
How should he and he already had 2 other victims, and he was just out walking the street roaming free? Tell him, man, the system has to catch him, has to be better. Cause he already did that to two people, man. He should have already been behind bars, so none of this would have ever happened, man. And to hear that he was writing down the stories, writing, like, narrating, it's creepy, man. Had it. Call it like I see it.
How did Kevin Porter Jr. go from making $80 million in the NBA to playing in just a small Greek gym making only $10K? Well, see, life hasn't always been. Started to appear. See, after appearing in only a few games his freshman year, he was suspended indefinitely by USC for personal conduct issues. Now, he ended up missing almost that entire season, but played in the last 3 games. The absence, though, did not stop him from forgoing his education and entering the NBA draft. And even with all the conduct issues, the Cavs took a chance on him. Porter quickly earned his NBA debut, but was immediately suspended for a game without pay because he made improper contact with the ref. Off the court, things were just falling apart as well. He was arrested for improper handling of a firearm in a vehicle, and the Cavs, they had enough of him, so they sent him off to Houston. Now here he would actually find a balance, like getting fined $50,000 for violating league health protocols one day, and then the next day having 50 points and 11 assists. His play continued to be stellar, so despite all the issues, the Rockets offered him an $82 million contract. But then, on September 11, 2023, he was arrested and charged by the New York Police Department for allegedly assaulting his girlfriend. He accepted a plea deal with the NYPD and pled guilty to misdemeanor charges, but was barred from the NBA forever. Now, he's playing in Greece in front of just a few dozen people and only earning $10,000 a season. So, this is all hail people. And remember, off the court is just as important as what happens on.
Breaking news,
It's just man, these athletes, it's like it's always like a dark story, man, on a come up, man, or they pass. It's like you have to try to fight through that, and then it just like happens to them. It's just like it's a cycle that repeats over and over again. From 82 million to 10K. That's a dramatic leap, but his actions cause that.
Remains of 6 women have been found inside of a man's apartment. Authorities say the investigation began when he allegedly broke into a neighbor's apartment on April 16th. From there, he essayed and strangled a 17-year-old girl. The victim's mother returned home shortly after and saw the man leaving. It was at that point he slashed her throat and then fled. According to authorities, the mother was able to survive, however, the daughter did not. With the mother's assistance, they were able to identify the suspect only as, quote, Miguel. After the incident, they searched his apartment and, quote, clearly indicated we are looking at a possible serial killer of women. Authorities also confirmed that notebooks were located that, quote, may well be narrations of the acts that Miguel carried out against his victims. In addition, they found cell phones and ID cards belonging to multiple women. They said that 5 of the ID cards found belonged to women who have been located alive. However, they did not specify how many belonged to women who are still missing or deceased. Prosecutors did confirm that there were remains of 6 women found in his rented room. Quote, other biological material was also found in the rooms. In addition to the ID cards and cell phones found, they also found bones, BLOOD, and a saw. At this time, authorities have not provided any further details. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments.
Thanks to a deathbed confession, a nearly 24-year-old cold case was closed this week when the bodies of a missing girl and her mother were found. 10-year-old Natasha Alex Carter and her mother Susan disappeared from their home in Beckley, West Virginia in August 2000. But at first, police initially reported that Alex may have been abducted by her mother. In a press release from December 2021 about the case, the FBI Pittsburgh said, quote, at the time of their disappearance, Susan Carter and Alex's father were having a custody dispute, and Alex moved in with her mother and mother's new husband, which it's not confirmed that it was actually her mother's new husband, but they moved in, and then not long after that, Susan and Alex disappeared. But while it was initially suspected as a parental abduction by Susan, after the two remained missing, an investigation into other possibilities ensued, but unfortunately, the case went cold. In 2021, the FBI reopened the cold case and started looking into the man Susan and Alex were living with, Larry Webb. Searches of his home were done in 2022 and 2023, and they found a bullet embedded in the wall of what was Alex's bedroom. The bullet was tested for DNA, and it confirmed that blood on it belonged to Alex. In October 2023, Larry Webb was indicted on first-degree murder charges for Alex's death, despite Alex and Susan's bodies never being found. Due to his deteriorating health, though, Webb was not arrested until April 12, 2024, but since then he was being held without bond. On Monday, he had a medical episode, after which, in a, quote, come-to-Jesus moment on his deathbed, he confessed to authorities what he had done. Webb claimed that on August 8, 2000, he had gotten into an argument with Susan over money. He said he was missing some cash and believed that she had taken it and spent it. The argument escalated and he shot her, and then he ended up shooting Alex so there would be no witnesses. Webb then wrapped their bodies in bed linens and placed them in the basement that night. Over the next 2 nights, he dug a shallow grave in the woods on his property, eventually burying them in his clothes and then walking free for the next 20 years. On April 22, 2024, Larry Webb died at Mount Olive Correctional Complex, and 6 hours later, Susan and Alex's remains were found at his property in Beckley. Unfortunately, now that Webb is dead, he cannot be charged in connection to their deaths. At least now they have been found and can be properly laid to rest. Alex's father, Rick Lafferty, said after the discovery, quote, it's kind of a sad day, but also a happy day because I can bring my baby home. Rest in peace, Alex and Susan.
It's always in it. When they see the end is near, they always want to get some off their chest. I never got that. I really never got that.
The mommy blogger that killed her own child. This is like the Gypsy Rose case with an even more devastating ending. Lacey Spears said that she always wanted to be a mom, and it was like a dream come true when her son Garnett was born. But only days after Garnett was born, his mother Lacey was taking him to the ER saying that he was very sick and wasn't eating. And at only a few months old, at his mother's request, Garnett had a feeding tube put in and his throat closed so he wouldn't be able to throw up. Remember that for later because it'll be important. Garnett was a very sick child, and his mother Lacey would document it all on her blog and her social media accounts, but in reality, Lacey was the sick one. Garnett was perfectly healthy. Lacey was purposely making her child sick for sympathy, attention, and online clout. Like many times before, in January of 2014, Lacey took her son Garnett to the ER, this time saying that he was experiencing seizures. After multiple tests, the nurses and doctors didn't see any seizure activity happening with Garnett, so they were getting ready to discharge him from the hospital. Within 10 minutes of the nurses and doctors leaving Garnett's hospital room, Garnett went from being a perfectly healthy 5-year-old boy to being brain dead and then passing away with no medical explanation why. Hospital staff was super suspicious, so they reported it to the police. Garnett had passed away from a lethal amount of sodium found in his system with no explanation on how it got there, An investigation started right away, and really quickly there was a lot of suspicious stuff that started being uncovered about his mom. They got a search warrant for their home, and where all of Garnett's medical supplies was, like all of his medicine, his feeding tube, his feeding bags, there was a container of sea salt. And a friend of Lacey's told the police that like immediately after Garnett passed away in the hospital, Lacey was texting her being like, yo, go into my house and throw out all of Garnett's feeding tubes and feeding bags, but don't tell anyone why. So suspicious, I can't believe she didn't know that she was gonna get caught. So obviously they tested the feeding bags that were in the home and in the trash, and they all contained a large amount of salt in them. And then a bomb dropped. There was security footage that Lacey didn't know about from Garnett's hospital room. Parts of it's online. I don't feel comfortable showing it, but you can find it online if you want. But it shows 5-year-old Garnett sitting in his hospital bed, looking super healthy, bouncing around on his bed. And then when the doctors and nurses leave the room, shows his mother take the feeding tube, take Garnett out of the bed, who's super healthy, take him into the bathroom, and then Garnett leaves the bathroom, an extremely sick child in a lot of pain and trying to throw up. But Garnett was unable to throw up the poison that his mother had just given him because she had had his throat closed when he was only a newborn. Lacey was found guilty and sentenced to 25 years to life in prison, and to this day she's never admitted what she did or shown any remorse for what she did and the 5 years of torture and pain that she did to her child.
Damn, she's a dangerous being. Doing that to your own child, man. Just for some clicks, for online clout, man. People, they just can't. It's like once they get the idea of clout in their head, it's just like that's all they try to chase. They try to chase that feeling, man. If they can get it by any means necessary, they will. And look what happened. Just a crazy and dark case, man. Tragic one as well. People have to be better, truly. If you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, guys. Like I said, guys, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, man. Hit that post notification bell so we could grow our community together. Greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, in May, we're gonna go strong, man. Guys, can I get some clapping emojis in the comment section, though, man? Have not missed a day of uploading. Straight dailies, man. Hours, 2 hours videos just for y'all, just for the fellow seekers, man. Y'all guys enjoy the content. This is what I like doing. Like I said, some changes coming to the channel. I'm upgrading, man, so we can have better quality for us. I can't wait. You guys can catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, seekers. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing all right, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, what we do is we break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank you guys for the support, subscribing to the channel, hitting that post notification bell, man, and hitting that like button, man. That helps us grow, that helps us grow our community together. So greatly appreciate the support. Let's do what we do best. Seek the truth.
This woman filmed her own murder after her husband found out she was having an affair. On December 2021, a fight broke out between 60-year-old Carrie Birmingham and his 48-year-old wife Patricia after he found out that she had been having an affair. During the argument, Carrie pulled out his shotgun, pointed at Patricia, and threatened to take her life. Patricia began recording their fight, and the last thing her husband said to her before he pulled the trigger was that she was going to meet Jesus. Carrie pled guilty, and even though they had video evidence of what he did, he was only sentenced to 10 years in prison with the possibility of parole in 5 years. And the reason for this is because the laws in Texas allows for a reduction in punishment if the crime was committed in sudden passion, which in this case, Carrie found out about his wife's affair and quickly reacted in this way.
Should they change that law, man?
He took her life because of it. On September 20th of 2015, Fidel Lopez and his girlfriend Maria Nemeth were inside of his apartment drinking. Maria ended up getting very intoxicated and they both ended up in a closet.
Okay.
They began to have intercourse and Maria had said the name of her ex-husband twice. Once Fidel had heard what Maria said, he became enraged. At that point, Fidel left Maria in the closet while he went through the apartment and began to break things. He had shattered a glass door and punched holes into the wall. Fidel then went back into the closet and Maria was lying unconscious. Fidel then decided to insert a beer bottle, a hair straightener, and both of his fists inside of Maria. Maria started to bleed, and Fidel stated this is when he became a monster. Fidel then admitted to pulling out Maria's intestines. Maria had never gained consciousness during this time. He then carried Maria to the bathroom to put water on her face, but she still did not wake up. Fidel then washed the blood off of his hands and went outside to smoke a cigarette. He started to panic and then went to the bathroom to check on Maria. She was no longer breathing, so that's when he decided to call 911. Maria was taken to the hospital and she was pronounced dead. Fidel was sentenced to life in prison and ended up taking a plea deal to avoid the death penalty.
This is proof art alone. Okay, so this
disturbing
alien-looking
case.
creature was recently captured on video, and
Shapeshifter? We gotta see this. What the hell is that? Oh man. Is this an edit? Or is this legit?
I have no idea what this is, but it's absolutely terrifying. And this is also 4,000 feet in the ocean.
Ooh.
We need to talk.
4,000 feet? And you guys see, because you know we haven't even explored like half of the ocean, so that could be a possibility, man. Is that legit? Or is that cap? You guys know what to do.
About the smiling dog. The smiling dog is a demonic creature that looks like a dog but has human teeth. Photos of this creature were sent to people all over the world. And once a photo was seen, the smile dog would enter the viewer's dream. And in the dream, you'll feel a need to ask the creature one question. What do you want? Then the smile dog will always reply with spread the word. After that, you'll have 3 days to grant the smile dog's wishes. And if you don't send any videos or photos of the smile dog to someone else, the photo you receive will start to deform, showing you a much more disturbing version of the smile dog that some people think is its true form. Some people have even said the smile dog's nightmares are so bad that its victims avoid sleeping altogether, weakening their mind and making them even more vulnerable till the smile dog comes out of their dreams and into their reality to further torment them. So send this video to someone else to spread the word of the smile dog.
Y'all doing that, Seekers, man? Spreading that smile dog picture? I ain't receiving it, so I don't know if that's facts or cap. Edit.
Anytime I sort of revisit the story of Carly Gousset, I'm reminded that that is one of the most chilling stories that I've ever heard come out of California. This is Carly. She was pretty young at the time. She was only a junior in high school, and all of this took place up in Mono County. This is in California. Very, very rural. When I'm saying rural, I'm serious. Like, there's nothing out there. Carly didn't really have a lot of issues. I mean, most people reported that she was a pretty good kid, but in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, her friends noticed that she seemed paranoid. She felt like somebody was tracking her on her phone, but she never said who. Fast forward, she ends up going to a party. She does something at that party that I can't say, and then she has a complete meltdown, a total episode. She allegedly even bit her own boyfriend at the time and then ran off into the street into the darkness before getting picked up by her stepmother. From what I read, it sounded like the parents pretty much stayed up with her all night because they were waiting for her to come down from whatever it was that she took. But she never did, and they never called 911. Come the morning, she was gone. She was not in the house. If these are stories that interest you, we've got a whole show on it. If you want to go check that out for a full episode. Only a handful of witnesses claimed to actually see her. They saw her walking along the road towards the highway, and this is that highway. Like, it is, there's nothing out there, which means somebody must have put her in their car.
A man has been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter in connection with the death of ice hockey player Adam Johnson. The 29-year-old Nottingham Panthers player's throat was cut by an opponent's skate blade when they collided during a match. Johnson received immediate medical attention with CPR performed on the ice and was taken to hospital but could not be saved. Detectives arrested the suspect on Tuesday, who remains in custody.
Dirty animal facts.
I think I remember I seen that video trend on Twitter. It's just like, I don't know, it was just like trending everywhere. People have saying that the guy did it on purpose. And That was just a disturbing video, man. So looks like you got justice.
You wish you never knew. Part 4. When a scorpion loses its tail, it also loses its anus. So if you pick it up by its tail, or it decides to sting something and can't let go, also then losing its anus. Not sure how it goes to the bathroom then, but that's not my problem. Madagascar hissing cockroaches are so loud they can actually be mistaken for an oncoming train. So next time you're walking somewhere and you think that you hear a train, it may just be a few cockroaches having a party. Don't forget to like and follow if you enjoy the series and want to see more.
Your wish is right, man. Here are 3 animals that look like they're the spawn of Satan, but actually harmless. First up, we've got the basking shark. Now, don't get me wrong, if I saw this daddy behind me while I was swimming, I'd shit the equivalent to an average human in 1 year in 1 second. But believe it or not, they're actually chill. They're one of the boys. Now, yes, their mouth is so wide that they could theoretically fit your entire extended family in there. They're a passive predator, mainly feeding on zooplankton. And you won't end up in here because they're really not interested in humans. Bit fucking rude, but however, that isn't me saying you should go up to one and give it a big fucking hug. Maybe keep your social distance for this one. Next up, we've got what the fuck are you? This is an eye-eye. Now, yes, if you were camping in the middle of the night and went out and saw this creature, I'd say you'd probably have a negative reaction. But this budget-ass gremlin and long middle finger is harmless. It doesn't go for humans, it goes for insects and grubs from tree trunks. Are you a fucking tree trunk? The worst it'll do is give you the biggest fuck-off middle finger of your life. Finally, we got the tailless whip scorpion. Oh yeah, quickly share the video and tag one friend. Love ya. Now you may recognize it from Harry Potter, but this little shit hurts it. They're harmless and not even venomous. Even provoked, they're chill. Elon!
Crazy animal facts, alright. Especially about that scorpion. I ain't messing with any of that, bro. Can't believe if you pick it up with its tail, that means you're picking it up by its anus, man. The more you know. Tap in with us, man. You can learn some facts.
Dad's TikTok videos help find his son's killer. This is 19-year-old Luis Carlos Laguna Jr., and he was born on September 8th of 2004. He was from Arlington, Texas, and he had a passion for music, dancing, and his Chevy Silverado. November 18th, 2023, Luis had attended a ranch party in Fort Worth, Texas with his friends. As they were leaving, they got into an argument with another group of individuals. It was strictly verbal, just arguing back and forth. The 2 groups ended up separating, and Luis had went on his way with his friends. They all hopped into Luis's truck, and as the truck was leaving, someone shot behind Luis's truck and struck Luis. Luis was then transported to a local hospital in critical condition, but unfortunately passed away. The medical examiner's office confirmed that his cause of death was a gunshot wound to his head. Fort Worth Police Department had stated that they were still looking for a suspect, and if anyone had any kind of information to please come forward. Weeks started passing by, weeks turned into months, and still they had nothing. Luis's father, Carlos Laguna Sr., had started to post videos on his TikTok. He would post videos about memories with his son, then he started to talk about his son's case. Carlos did this in hopes that it would reach the right person, and that person would come forward with any information about his son's killer. About 5 months after Luis's death, a detective called Carlos to let him know that they had found Luis's killer. That person is 20-year-old Martin Ramirez Lopez, and he is currently sitting in jail charged with the murder of Luis. Detectives mentioned to Carlos that his TikTok videos did help and that someone had came forward. One thing about Carlos, he was not going to give up. Rest in peace to Luis, and he'd never be forgotten.
DJ said
Power of TikTok.
Was
doing
that
some
David
good too.
smoked too much of their weed. So on the night of the 13th, David, DJ, Bradley, and Austin were all over at his house. They were hanging out in that camper trailer. They were smoking, hanging out, and DJ gave Eric some kind of signal. And then Eric got up and he left the room. He didn't stay out of the room for more than a few minutes. So I don't know if he was curious about how the murder was going or what, but he came back to be with the others eventually. Except at this point, when he came back in, David wasn't in the room. DJ, Austin, and Bradley had locked him in a bathroom. Now David didn't seem too worried at this point. He actually thought his friends were just kind of messing around with him, maybe playing a prank, you get it. But then they let him out of the bathroom. They turned off the lights and they started beating him. And that's when David got really scared. He apparently begged them to stop, but nobody would. They even used to start pistol whipping him. So once they found a pretty remote area, they pulled David out of the car, they walked him into the woods, laid him on the ground, and then DJ shot him in the head. At least, that's how things happened the first time that Eric told his story. But the police made him come in for 2 other interrogations, and each time Eric gave them a confession, it would change. One of the biggest differences was that a couple of times Eric said that the killer was not DJ. It was someone who was listed in the police report as AB. Those are Austin Barrett's initials. By now, the detectives were convinced that Eric was the ringleader in all of this. Even if they they didn't know who actually fired the fatal shot, they still had no idea what the motive was for David's murder. But they were confident that Eric was behind all of it.
The
And
mastermind.
that Austin, DJ, and Bradley helped him pull off this crime, and then helped dump the body.
Riley Strain's
Oh,
mom
some
finally gave an
weed.
interview to News Nation, and she
People
talked
need to be
about
better.
the final text that was sent from Riley to her about his drink. People have not talked about this case in a couple of weeks, and this is a pretty big break considering we still don't have footage from inside the bar. If you need a refresher on the case, Riley Strain, he was a fraternity brother who was down on a trip with his frat. He was down in Nashville, and he was kicked out of a bar. See him on camera when he hits the street level. He is hammered. He's completely gone. He's wandering aimlessly. He's alone. Eventually, he would vanish that night, and then following a 2-week search, his body was found without his pants, washed up in the Cumberland River. And a lot of dust that was kicked up on this case because a lot of people wanted to know about that drink, and now we have confirmation from his mother. And again, it's a lot to pack into one video. If you want some backstory on this, I've got an episode on it. Riley had apparently texted his mom that his drink at the bar, something was wrong with it. Adds even more suspicion to the GHB theory.
Marcus married his 15-year-old.
Serious. That's why, man, when you out, if you stepping away, man, if you don't cover your drink, it's best to just order a new one because you don't know the type of time that people are on nowadays. They could try to slip some of your drink, try to take advantage. It's not even worth it, man. When you out, get a new drink or don't leave it at all, man. Or better yet, don't even drink. I always want to be aware of my surroundings.
Stepdaughter. My heart goes out to her. She was way too young to be dealing with anything like this. And even though their finances don't sound like they were especially stable, they kept having children. I mean, think pregnancy after pregnancy, because by the time she was 26 years old, Elizabeth had given birth, and this is not an exaggeration, 11 times. Now, given that the first pregnancy was when she was 15, that works out to a baby every single year. I can't even imagine. It's literally like you're pregnant for 10 years straight.
Yep.
That would be horrific. I didn't mind being pregnant, but that would be horrific. I mean, it honestly would be hard on anyone, but she was also so young that it would make it that much more difficult. Marcus basically stole her childhood away from her in so many different ways.
Crazy. She had no chance to even live her life. 11 years? She was pregnant every 1 year, bro. It's a sick story, man.
On Monday, April 15th, 21-year-old Thomas Elliott was inside a Target pretending to shop when he first began following a woman around the store. This woman said that she was shopping for clothes for her grandbaby when she noticed Elliott was standing way too close to her. And then she saw that he was holding his phone in a weird angle, pointing straight at her. She said her first thought was that this man may have been trying to Bluetooth her information from her phone onto his phone. She gave him this weird look like, "What the hell are you doing?" So he backed off and apologized and said that he was only looking at clothes that was hung beside her. So this woman walked away and continued to shop, but she still felt like something was off. She then noticed he was getting really close to another woman in the store, the same way he was doing to her. She thought this was too much of a coincidence, so she followed him around at a distance and wanted to see what he was up to. At this point, she felt like this guy was being really suspicious, so she put her phone in the cup holder of her shopping cart and began recording. And that's when she caught Elliott bent down with his phone and put his camera underneath this woman's dress.
Behind
Disgusting.
me is one of the most famous true crime cases ever. And to this day, it still remains unsolved. This one is called Who Killed John Bonet? And I am partnering with Lifetime to bring you guys the best of the best for true crime film. Jean Bonet was absolutely gorgeous, and she was in many beauty pageants. She had a loving mother and father, and also a brother. Unfortunately, Jean Bonet was mysteriously murdered. There were several accusations against the parents, but no one really knows the real truth. Jean Bonet was absolutely precious and so kind with her personality. She was loved by so many. This has been one of the most talked about true crime cases over the years. And to be honest, it's one of the most intense ones. I feel this Lifetime movie did a great job portraying this case, and I think it's one that everybody should watch. You guys can watch this at mylifetime.com/watchripped.
This picture famously surfaced from 1941 because something looks very off about it. This guy, a lot of people cite this picture as proof of time travel because not only does he seemingly look very modern and out of place, but he also appears to be holding a camera that's very small, too small for any commercial grade camera of 1941. But let me explain why this is debunked. The modern t-shirt he's wearing, it's a logo for the Montreal Maroons, which was a hockey team from the 40s. The glasses were also available. They had protective side shields in the 40s too. But what about that camera? It's small enough to be a digital camera, but they did not have commercial grade cameras that were this small in the 40s. Incorrect. Kodak confirmed of a rare model of a small portable camera that was limited, but it was available by 1941, which makes this photo completely plausible.
They debunked that quick. Could there still be more truth to that, or could they debunk it because they don't want nobody else looking into the truth? Dig deeper into that story. What do you guys think?
Who would think selling unlimited 10-cent beers to sports fans is a bad idea? Not the Cleveland Indians when they played against the Texas Rangers on June 4th.
10 cents? It's a deal of a lifetime.
This led to 60,000 cups of beer being sold to the 25,000 people in attendance. That was incredibly problematic because there were only 50 security guards.
Yeah, that ain't going
Fans
well.
were growing increasingly intoxicated, throwing bottles and firecrackers on the field.
Whoa.
There were flashers and streakers. And this all culminated in the 9th inning when a fan tried to steal a player's cap and the Rangers came to their teammates' defense. The fans rushed the field with knives, chains, and stolen stadium seats. Players defended themselves with bats as they retreated into their dugouts, and the umpire declared the Rangers the winner by forfeit. Though they would put a 2-cup per person limit, the next 10-cent beer night was a month later.
They kept doing it. They didn't even learn from their mistakes. It's crazy. They're doing that nowadays. You know that ain't happening.
Look at Miranda seeming uncomfortable while Dan is touching her.
What can't you say? I mean, honest to God, I could go on and on.
All this stuff coming out about him.
Wonderful qualities about Miranda, but I know time permits.
Like, why is he hugging her like that?
One thing. In all the years I've known Miranda, I guess 9 years now, she hasn't changed. Miranda hasn't changed one bit. All those awesome qualities.
Like the need to touch her?
9 years old. All the goodness, all those smiles.
Let me know if I'm overreacting. And make sure you hit that follow button because I have a whole deep dive coming.
Oh, he being
Breaking news in the case of what some are calling the Milwaukee serial killer. As you may remember, earlier this month, a critical missing persons warning was issued for Sade Robinson. She was last seen on Monday, April 1st. The following morning, authorities were notified about a car fire near her home. After further investigation, authorities were able to determine that the vehicle fire was that of Robinson's. Later that day, authorities say a community member located a leg in a park. This park was less than 10 miles away from Robinson's home. Furthermore, authorities said that Robinson went on a date on April 1st, the same day that she went missing. Authorities say that the two met at a restaurant where the suspect worked. The bartender who used to work there with the suspect said that they were seen having, quote, casual conversations. This was before leaving together. The two then reportedly went to another bar before they went back to the suspect's home. On Friday, 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson was charged in connection with the crime. The following day, the sheriff's department located another body part near the scene of the car fire. During the weekend that followed, additional remains were also located near a site where the remains had been discovered on April 5th. Authorities said cell phone data ultimately led them to the arrest. After taking the suspect into custody, they said that there was BLOOD located inside of his home. However, they have now released information stating that that BLOOD is not the victim's. A lieutenant who is a former Milwaukee investigator and who also worked on the Jeffrey Dahmer case said that this is not surprising to him. He said, quote, they haven't said whose BLOOD it is, but it could be his. He finished by saying, quote, I don't think this leads to the suspicion that there are other victims out there. At this time, he has pled not guilty and is being held on a $5 million bond. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
Here's 5 celebrities who didn't know killed somebody and what exactly went down. The last 2 are particularly weird and creepy. Tennis superstar Venus Williams got into a car accident in June 2017, which left 1 man dead. Williams was driving in Palm Beach, Florida, when she rushed into an intersection despite not having the right of way, and she was T-boned by the car. The car's driver survived, but her husband, 78-year-old man, was sent to the ICU, where he died 2 weeks later. Alec Baldwin discharged a prop gun that led to the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of his movie Rust in New Mexico on October 21st, 2021.
Saw that.
Authorities with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said that they were investigating the incident and trying to determine what type of projectile was discharged exactly. No charges have been made since the incident, and Baldwin, who was both a star and producer for the film, cooperated with authorities. Baldwin even released a statement the day after the incident to let the public know how devastated he was, as well as the fact that he was fully cooperating with the police investigation and that he was in touch with the late cinematographer's family and husband. In 1993, Snoop Dogg and his bodyguard were charged with the murder of a rival gang member. Snoop was defended by attorney Johnny Cochran and was acquitted after years and years of court battles. In 1978, Sex Pistols bassist Sid Vicious fatally stabbed his girlfriend Nancy Spungen. When he was first questioned, he claimed to have found her dead on the bathroom floor of their hotel room, but he later admitted that he had stabbed her but didn't actually intend to kill her. Although he was charged with her murder, Vicious never actually stood trial as he died of a drug overdose while out on bail. In 2012, Smallville and Sons of Anarchy actor Johnny Lewis broke into the home of an 81-year-old woman called Catherine David, ransacked her home, and then killed her and her cat. He was never questioned as he actually fell or jumped from a roof and died straight after. It was later revealed that he had been born into a Scientologist family and worked for the church's drug rehab group, Narconon. Despite a history of drug abuse, though, the autopsy report showed that he actually had no drugs or alcohol in his system at the time of his death.
It's like there's some dark secrets, man, behind the Hollywood wall, man, that I learned every single day watching these videos, you guys. That first story you saw, I never even knew something like that even happened, man, to the Williams sisters. Damn. Hollywood it's like so dark, man, behind the scenes. You gotta seek the truth, man.
Have you ever heard the crazy story on how the show To Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen got canceled? If you've never seen that show before, it was so ahead of its time. So basically, Chris Hansen and his team would go online and pretend to be children or teenagers and chat with online predators, and then invite the creeps over, saying like, my parents aren't home. Then the creeps would go over to what they thought was a child's home, but be greeted with Chris Hansen and get arrested. Typically the men that they would catch on the show would be lowlifes with no real influence in society at all. Until Texas District Attorney Bill Conrad started chatting with one of the show's online decoys, sending inappropriate photos to what he thought was an underage boy. On every single episode of the show, they had to convince these online creeps to actually meet up in person. But Bill didn't want to meet in person. This is complete speculation, but I'm assuming that the network knew that catching a district attorney on their show would be really good for ratings. And since Bill did not want to meet, they took camera crew, police officers, SWAT teams, and raided Bill's home. This is unlike anything the show had done before. And with cameras rolling, before they were even able to speak with him, Bill Conrad unalived himself. People that were at the scene apparently immediately started talking about how this was going to make really good TV. And Dateline did go on to air an episode that featured Bill. But there was some controversy, of course. The judge that signed the search and arrest warrant apparently said that they were never made aware that a reality TV show was involved in this arrest at all, and said if they had known, they would never have signed it. Experts have also said that the raid was unnecessary drama for the cameras and put everyone involved in unnecessary danger. And that the investigation was just rushed in general because this was reality TV and they wanted a quick turnaround for the episode. Bill's sister did go on to file a wrongful death lawsuit against NBC, which was settled for an undisclosed amount. And within months of this all happening, the very popular TV show was canceled. There's so much controversy about how this all went down, but what do you think? And if you were a fan of this show, did you ever hear about this before?
Canceled it, man, because they caught somebody, person involved. And they tried, and it wrongly, man, they tried to catch it, but when that money got involved, man, they tried to do it for ratings. It seems like they kind of lost focus on what it really was supposed to be about, man. Like she said, that was ahead of its time. I imagine how would a show like that go like today in today's society? it's sad, but they probably have an episode probably like every day. Crazy. Seekers, that's it, man, for this video for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoy this, man. Like I said, if you guys been checking out my style, kind of been, you know, cutting back on the chatting, man, just letting the videos play out and saving my thoughts until afterwards, cutting down on the pausing as well, man. I'm just trying to make the viewing experience just the best for you guys. You deserve the best, and I want to continue to get better and better with each video going forward. Guys, stick with me, man. Hit that like button, subscribe button, hit that post notification bell. Also follow my socials down below, man. So let's go to Seekers. That's how we can connect and stay together, man. Guys can catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.